Hey, hello. If you're new here, my name is Rain. If you're not new here, welcome back. I appreciate you stopping on by to my little corner of the internet. Today, we're going to do a sketchbook session. I just started the sketchbook, as some of you may know, and I just wasn't really sure how I wanted to start it, so I thought a sketchbook session is the way to go for my first video, like, inside the sketchbook. So what that means is if you're interested in drawing along with me, illustrating something, creating anything at all, be sure to let me know in the comments or tag me on social media showing me what you make. I always love to see the creativity that comes from the members of my community, and that fostering of creativity is really important to me. If you hear chaos, all of the kittens are living their best kitten life. All of them seem to have the zoomies this morning, and this is the last day to film my voiceover because tomorrow's upload day. And I gotta do it, so we're gonna have to sit through the zoomies together. So I'm sorry if they're a little bit loud in the background. I find that the editing program I use isn't like wonderful for blocking out sound. It has like all of these tools for it, and yet I can't ever really get the cat and dog sounds to stop. Maybe I'm just really bad at editing and haven't figured it out yet, but I just feel like the noise reduction stuff that I'm always doing never works for me, even though the editing program theoretically should be perfectly fine for it. So I'm sorry about that. I will maybe one day get better editing software. I don't even think my editing software is bad. I really like it. I really like what I use to edit. So I think I just need a better mic, actually. But that's kind of irrelevant. So for today's sketchbook session, I just was not feeling much of anything. I kind of just went for it. I had a very simple goal in mind. I wanted to try playing around with bigger lips, and I wanted to do some downturned eyeballs, which are just stylistically things that I really, really enjoy. And so, I think it turned out. I just don't actually know that I met my goals. I really like when other artists do that thing where the bottom lip will protrude a little bit past the actual edge of the face that we can see in a slightly turned profile view. So that was my primary facial feature that I really wanted to work with and try and do in my own style. I don't really do a lot of only partially turned faces. I do a little bit more intense of a 3/4 view and half views. So it was just a little bit more of the other side of the nose that I'm used to doing. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like I really put the nose as a really massive facial feature, and it really cuts off the other eye that I'm able to see. We, as the viewer of the piece, are able to see. So it was a little bit more eye than I'm used to having, but I don't mind it. I do really need to work on more diversity in posing and positioning when I'm doing a simple portrait. I really feel like I get a little bit too in the groove of my usual kind of sketching poses and my sketching kind of my go-tos, my this is what I'm comfortable doing kind of thing. And it's within that I kind of get complacent in my art and don't push myself towards greater improvement or applying more thought to my work. And so that's one of the goals I have for the sketchbook, is working more in character design and trying to explore posing and clothing and stuff like that I wouldn't usually draw. I like these things. I love seeing how other artists approach expanding characters and approach fun posing, and I feel like I'm a little bit too complacent in what I'm comfortable doing, and so that's what my sketchbook's for, you know what I mean? It's for pushing yourself, or not yourself, but myself to, oops, I bumped you guys, pushing myself to do things that I'm not comfortable with. This is like a safe space for me. This is a place where I can create the ugliest of the ugliest art, in my opinion, and that's okay, and that's just part of the growing process. So I need to work on like different poses. I'm really hoping to get a little bit better at more complex posing. I'm talking like downward and upward views of people. I feel like I'm very straight on with my posing, very we're at eye level with the way that I approach kind of positioning and composition of stuff, and it gets a little boring, I'm not gonna lie. I am aware that my art could be more visually interesting if I worked on creating more engaging posing. So that's something I'm hoping to show you guys a lot more in the sketchbook. And I'm gonna have some bad stuff, guys. I'm really bad at perspective, and I just know that foreshortening is going to be a really big issue that I tackle in the sketchbook. So you can look forward to that. I'm not looking forward to it, but I am excited to get past that hurdle. So there's that. And then in terms of like actual character design, I had nothing in mind. And in that, I feel like I do a lot of thin eyebrows, and I don't really know why. I feel like every time I'm like sketching a character that I don't intend to keep, I give them the thinnest damn eyebrows. And it just, I don't know where I get it from. I personally do not have thin eyebrows. I don't really know where this like interest in thin eyebrows and like this tendency I have to just have it as a go-to like facial trait is, because I don't think I know anyone with thin eyebrows. So I don't know, but thin eyebrows, I do make the pupils a lot bigger later in the drawing. I don't like the tiny pupils. I have one artist that I really, really love. I think their name is pronounced Tatsuda. I love his work. I have 2 of his books, and he does a lot of like tiny pupils. And so I think I was just trying to take inspiration from that. I don't think it works in my art style, which is fine, but I had to change it later. I couldn't keep it. I do want to play with it a little bit more. I think that it might look a little bit better in a like inked illustration, something where the pupil is just a harsh black circle. So I do want to return to dip pens in the sketchbook, so maybe that will be where I try the tiny pupils again, but I don't like it, and so I'm sorry guys, you gotta look at it for a while, because I think I convinced myself that like it'll look good later once the rest of the face is done, and I never got into it. So that's unfortunate, because that's how it is for most of the video. And then I did long hair, guys. Be excited. I like never draw long hair. I'm a short-haired girly. Like, I love short hair. I love the way people look with short hair. Some people look great with long hair. I just feel like I like the playfulness that comes with like short, messy hair, short, wavy hair. And so it's very much a go-to. It's kind of what I have. I do a lot of my digital art. The hair is inspired by my own hair. If you're looking for an idea of what I'm talking about, my digital work is very indicative of it. So I did do long hair. I wanted to push myself. I feel like I'm not good at rendering long hair because I kind of deny myself the exploration of it. That's how I'm gonna word that. And like, I need to do more long hair. Just because I have short hair does not mean that all of my characters should have short hair. And I probably should make a long-haired character sometime soon. I don't know when that will happen, but it's in the books. I do have a semi-long hair witch character that I kind of want to keep. She's from my last sketchbook. She still doesn't have a name. I've drawn her twice. And she's very cute. I very much like her hair, but I'm not good at rendering it. Like, I don't like mentally like think about the way that longer hair has to like reflect light and where the shadows go. So that was another like small thing in the sketchbook page that I wanted to explore. I didn't have a plan going in, but like as I kept going, I was trying to think of things that I'm not really good at and just trying to make it a part of a casual sketch, because this is just a sketch. This isn't something serious, and so it's in these like little minute ways where I take tiny things that I'm not accustomed to and try and explore them a little bit further that I find that I get most comfortable with them quickly. It's in me sitting down and doing something that I do a lot, which is just sketching like the basic character that I'm not going to keep, and I'm like, well, let's do the long hair that I'm not used to doing. Let's do the bigger lips that I don't really tend to draw. And it's in that I feel like I make a lot more of my like sketchbook based artistic improvement. And I feel like I lost that a lot in my last sketchbook. I was looking at Sketchbook 8 the other day, which is I think my all-time favorite sketchbook I've ever like completed in terms of like just the way it looks. And it started not as a sketchbook, Sketchbook 8. And I might do a video going through Sketchbook 8 because I feel like that's where most of my artistic improvement like happened. I feel like I improved very quickly in that sketchbook. And I think it's a good thing for people who are considering going into art or feel slumped or are self-taught like I was. And I tend to maintain a very self-taught philosophy despite being almost done with an art degree. The way I go about teaching myself new things is, I think, something that I've carried from before I started college. And I think that it's something that I really do need to talk about more on my channel, because after my my sketchbook tour, sketchbook number 9 tour video kind of popped off, I've gotten a lot of comments that are like, I wish I could sketch like you and or draw like you, and I really like your style and stuff like that. And liking my style isn't the same as wanting to be able to draw like me, of course. There are so many artists out there where I look at their art style and I'm like, that is the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. And I'm never going to draw like them because that's their style and this is mine, right? And I love their style. And sometimes I wish I could draw like them and that I had their style. But ultimately, it's just how we draw and how we feel most comfortable expressing ourselves. And maybe my style will drastically change in a few years and it'll look more like the people I looked up to. But for now, this is where it is, and I like my own art style. I'm not always satisfied with it, perhaps, and I'm not always necessarily like, this is the most amazing art style out there. I'm not always 100% confident in my work on a stylistic standpoint. I'm going to go into that a lot in my next video. I'll summarize why in a second, but people really liking my style has been really like amazing for me. But people who are saying things like, I wish I could draw like you, I always try to respond to those comments with all of my old art is still on my Instagram. Not all of it. But most of my old art is still on my Instagram. And you can see where I started. And you can see how my style has evolved over the last few years. And I'm not gonna lie, I was looking at Sketchbook 8 and realizing like what year it came from, and then Sketchbook 7 and seeing what year that was from. And a lot of my artistic evolution has happened in the last 2 years. And it's really, really like almost scary to see just how quickly I've changed, and to see just to really put into perspective, sorry for the long pause, but I feel like it's important to put into perspective just how quickly time flies in the grand scheme of things. And just my art from Sketchbook 7 doesn't feel so recently as it is. It feels like it's from 5-6 years ago. So seeing just how much my art has improved over since 2020 has been really wild for me, putting it into perspective. I started university, getting my botany degree in 2020, and I don't think I really thought about how that was when I took my first proper art class where I felt safe with a teacher. I took one art class when I was 14 at a community college, and it was a really, really negative experience for me. And I stopped drawing for a few years because of it, a year or two, because of how bad it was. Some people who've been on my channel for a while are aware of that. But I stopped drawing for a year or two because that experience was so negative for me. And so when I think about how I went from that moment to teaching myself art till 2020 when I was 17 years old, how I was teaching myself art for two-ish years, so 15, so I probably quit art for about a year. I look at it and I'm like, wow, I really changed a lot, and I really learned a lot. And then I went to college, and I realized that art classes are not everything you kind of expect them to be. And they're definitely not as, how do I say it? They're not as drastic in improvement. They don't teach you necessarily how to draw good per se. They teach you how to teach yourself how to draw. At least that's what my experience has been for the most part. And so I really want to kind of really go back through all of my old art sometime soon. I am going to be not as on break as I'd like to be for the winter break between semesters, but I do want to go through my old art, and I want to try and document and figure out the point in which I really learned how to teach myself how to draw, because I didn't always take art classes over the summer. I only took one art class over the summer, and it was Digital Media 1, I think. It was that or animation. I had the same teacher for both, and I don't really remember which I took with which. And I kind of want to have a video on my channel where I explain how I approach teaching myself how to draw new things, because ultimately I'm going to be getting out of college very, very soon at this point, and I want to kind of really reflect on the experience, the classes I've taken, the classes I didn't really learn anything from, and the classes I learned to learn from, I suppose I should say. And I want to really figure out exactly what point that I learned how to be comfortable with bad art, and I learned how I need to approach learning new stuff and applying what I do know to improve my understanding. That's something that I really want to do, because I have a video on my channel that says, like, you don't need an art degree, or art degrees aren't always worth it, or something like that, where I talk about for an hour or so. I'm such a repeaty person. I always repeat myself. I'm sorry. But I talk over like my experience in college, and why I don't think you need to get an art degree, and why I'm personally opposed to people feeling like they have to go to college and get a 4-year degree in art if they don't have outright plans for their art. I know it's kind of weird but art is just one of those fields where you don't necessarily need that piece of paper, and you don't necessarily need that education the same way you do with a science or anything in the medical field, right? And I kind of just really sat down for an hour while drawing, thinking about and reflecting on, I didn't have a script, but reflecting on my experience in college, and do I think that this experience has been worth it? And do I recommend it to people? Now, I do have the important caveat in that I didn't go to college for an art degree. That's not where I started my academic journey. That's not where I'm ending my academic journey. I added my art degree to my roster in year 3 of college, and I'm in my first semester of year 4. I started college as a botany major, and I'm ending it with my botany degree. I am getting it and completing it. I added my art degree along the way because I had the ability to take one class at a different college and then finish my art degree. That was the only thing I wouldn't have been able to take at my home college, and there was a program where I could take it and have it covered by my tuition at my home college. I didn't have to pay extra per unit or enroll, and I said, yeah, I do want to take professional practices and get both of these degrees. And ultimately, in this last year and making my YouTube channel, really after making my YouTube channel, I solidified myself in the idea that I want to get a master's degree so that I can teach art at the university level. Because while I don't think that people need to, I think that the art courses you do take at the university level, whether it be extracurricular or not actually for your degree, I think they are important. And I had a really bad experience in the introductory art course when I was 14. That one course that you really take if you don't intend to ever do art ever again. And I had a bad experience, and I quit art for a year. And I'm here today now because I reinvigorated my own passion for it, and I want to be a teacher that is better than that one. And I additionally had a really bad art teacher for the second introductory course that I took in year 3. I went backwards in my degree. I really did a lot of my upper division first, and then in year 3 I went back and I did all of those beginner courses that you need to take. So I had another bad teacher again, and I think I'm really wanting to be an art teacher out of spite for those teachers that gave me a really bad experience and had a negative impact on my enjoyment for creation, and really put my peers in situations where they didn't enjoy their work. And if you could hear that, that was Hyde and Cruz. But I want to be better. I want to be a better teacher than those teachers. And I've worked in academics for years. I've been a tutor, a multi-subject tutor, since I was 16. It was my first job. I still have that job. It is the only paid job that I've really done. I haven't quit. I sometimes take the summers off when I have to, because they don't have students sometimes. And I just usually take extra courses, do a little summer jobs to save up money for my degree and stuff like that. But that's kind of irrelevant. I've been working in education for years, and I've had a lot of students who came to me with really, really negative academic experiences, who really suffered from bad teachers and bad experiences, and I've had to be the person to kind of reestablish what a good academic experience can be like and help them feel better in academics again, and really process how to do these subjects after a bad experience and continue to learn and feel comfortable learning these things. And so I've I've seen a lot of the results of bad teachers. I've picked up the slack. I've had students actively having bad teachers and having to help them navigate the experience of having a teacher that wasn't good, but they need to get the work done because they need it for their high school diploma. And it just happens sometimes. Sometimes you get a teacher that's not good. And some of these teachers that aren't good, I went to the high school that I tutor at, the charter school I tutor at. I wasn't healthy enough to go to a normal high school, and I'm not healthy enough to go to college, really, at the end of the day. So I've had these teachers though. I had to go to school 2 days a week for a lot of my classes before I moved on to community college entirely. And I've had them, and I know how bad they are, and I know how to navigate that process because I had to do it. And I like my job. I like working with people who want to learn. I have a lot of high school students who hate learning, and so they hate meeting me because I'm just making them do their homework they don't want to do. And I don't love that. And so that's why I want to go into teaching college. I want to teach people who are paying for their education and are there because they want to be there, or at least they want their degree bad enough to care about my class. And I know I'm going to have people who are there just because it's a requirement if I'm teaching the more beginner courses, and I'm okay with that because that's where I was. I was taking those courses because, yes, I love drawing, but I was 14, and I was raised in a very science-oriented household. I mean, I was going for a botany degree. Well, when I was 14, I was actually going into marine biology, but that's kind of irrelevant. I was a science major even when I was 14. I always never really saw art as a profession for me, and that's fine. That's fine. But ultimately, I came to really want to work in art education, and that's kind of, it's been largely my YouTube channel. I don't think I even thought about getting my degree, my master's, so I could teach art college until I was sitting down and reflecting on my video about why you don't need a degree. Because you don't. If you're not going to go into teaching college, you do not need an art master's, okay? I'm doing this because I want to work in higher education where that master's degree is required. And I'm doing it because I love education. And I think a master's degree was always in the cards for me. I don't think I really wanted to teach botany, but I think a master's degree was in the cards for me to go into a profession that I wanted within botany. And ultimately, as my health has gotten worse over the years, I found that I'm not going to be a good botanist. I can't really walk and I can't do field work, right? And I found a passion for scientific illustration. I don't really do it on my channel. I'm not actually really good at it, but I really love it. And I do want to probably over the summer spend more time really exploring scientific illustration. I do floral photography. I haven't done any of my photography work on my channel, even though it's in my like caption description thingy for my entire channel. And also I have photographer in there, and then I've never shown my photography work ever. But I do have a video planned. I've had a video planned since I started my channel. I just haven't really done it yet. I'll do it eventually. I like the idea. I want to go through the process of drawing my own photography. But that's irrelevant to the topic of conversation. I am comfortable going into scientific illustration instead of a job. I do want to use my botany degree. I want to continue to work in the sciences. I mentioned earlier that my winter break is not going to be as available as I originally had planned or hoped, but I got accepted for an unpaid internship, but with a sustainability group that I'm really excited to work with and intern with. And they do have paid options once I complete my internship, and if they want me for them, I'm going to take them, because it is a virtual job. I'm able to work virtually. They're happy having people like me, people who are a little too sick to be reliably there and on site. They're happy having people like me. And it's rare that I get opportunities where I feel like I'm really safe in a job, where I don't have to worry that my disability is going to cause me issues. So I am very, very excited to do that. And I have a degree in botany that maybe will make me, I'll be finishing my degree the semester that my internship will end. I think my internship will end actually right about when I'm graduating, I think. Maybe a couple of weeks before. So maybe I'll go into doing that while I get my master's degree. And maybe I'll work 2 jobs. Maybe it takes a long time to get a job as an art teacher. And really getting your feet in the I don't know what that analogy is. I don't know what that analogy is. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. If you do, put it in the comments, because I'm blanking on it. But it takes a long time to kind of establish yourself as a good professor and to get a job. And I will be virtual, so I'll have a disadvantage. So maybe it'll take me a long time to get the job I want with my master's degree. And I'll be able to work in the sciences, in sustainability, while I build my way up to it. I do have a very, very crossed over passion. I love sustainability, and I love botany, and I love the plant world just as much as I love art. And it's just that the art world is a little bit more safe for me as somebody who is chronically ill and has to stay home. So I'm hoping to get to work in art education. And I realize I don't have scripts for my videos. I have bullet points, and I realize that I just went on a really long-winded tangent to explain a thought process to you guys and a YouTube channel video idea that is I'm really talkative, guys. I'm really good at just continuing on words and never circling back, but I'm circling back. I want to do a video and really sit down and discuss how I have learned to teach myself new things, because college doesn't teach you how to draw everything. At least it hasn't yet. And it definitely won't in my master's degree, because your master's degree is basically just free for all, draw what you want to draw with vague supervision, right? An art master's is do your work and get checked in on every once in a while, right? So I'm not really going to be getting a lot of supervision, right? So I'm probably never actually going to really learn to draw the things I don't know how to draw in college. And I don't really want people going into an art degree or pursuing education in art thinking that they're going to learn to do these things that they want to learn to do. You have to teach yourself. College is going to give you tools to be able to do it perhaps a little bit more efficiently, or to have an easier time actually breaking down things, but anyone can learn how to do it. There are so many remarkable self-taught artists, and most of the stuff I know how to do, I taught myself and didn't learn how to do in college, And I think there's a myth. I think there's kind of a misconception that art college is going to make you a good artist. And I think there's a misconception that going to those prestigious art universities with low acceptance rates is going to make you amazing. And it's not. It's not. You're the only person who can make yourself an amazing artist. And it's in that I really want to, now that I have people being like, I wish I could draw like you, and I want to eat your art, which is an oddly good compliment. I thought it was really stupid when I was seeing other people being like, I want to eat your art, and then someone said it to me, and I was like, oh my, wow, thank you. I'm very easily flustered by compliments, so yeah. So yeah, thank you for all the compliments in the comments, by the way, on my last 2 videos. They've really meant a lot. But where was I going with this? I want to talk about how I taught myself to draw prior to college and what college has helped me learn quickly, I suppose, and what I've come away with. And I've learned a few tricks in college that might help other people. It's hard to tell because being disabled, I do draw a little bit differently than other people. When it comes to like the paper size expected in college, those like 12 by 24, 17 by 24, those big papers, I can't do a lot of the techniques other people do. And they teach you to do the extended arm pencil tracing thing. I can't really do that with my arm sitting upright. I can't really draw with my art propped. It hurts too much, things like that. And so I've kind of worked with my teachers to find an accessible way of approaching these techniques. And it's in that I think I can kind of break down some of these ways and some of these methods. And so I do want to do a video talking about how I taught myself. I'm just not necessarily sure that I'm experienced enough in teaching art yet that it's going to be like a good video, and I am a little nervous about that. And I did learn to draw differently than other people because I have different abilities, right? So I do want to do that. I do want to go over these processes, the way I've learned down to break down information. And I think I want to do a tour of Sketchbook 8 before I do that, because Sketchbook 8 started as a complimentary doodle book thing. I was working on Sketchbook 7 and I was getting to a close, and I got out a sketchbook and I was like, this is going to be my 20 minutes a day sketchbook, where I sit down and I do something that I don't know how to draw for 20 minutes, or I do something new that I don't usually do for 20 minutes. And I fell in love with a lot of the work I was doing in there and the explorations that I was doing in there, and that's how I do want to kind of go over that and talk about the ways that sketchbook made me critically think about information and how I kind of process it and how I translate it to paper, and how I feel like that can help a lot of other people kind of learn and teach themselves to draw as well. Not that everyone is going to learn the same way, of course. It really helped me, and so I would like to be able to break that down and hopefully provide something useful to you guys. I know my channel isn't really education based, and a lot of the stuff I do is just sketchbook sessions where I hope the value I provide to you guys as an audience is that I am a soothing or comforting person that you can draw along with, or watch draw, or listen to for some time and kind of get away from reality for a bit and pursue your own creativity. One of my favorite artists to draw along with when I was first drawing when I was 15, 16 years old is drawing with waffles. And I think when it came down to me thinking, what do I want my channel to be good for? I wanted a channel that provided what Drawing with Waffles provided for me, which is a little art friend that I can just put on while I draw. And I still do that sometimes. A lot of the time when I'm not doing my voiceover live with my video, I'm watching YouTube or listening to music, documentary. I do consume a lot of long form content, and so it's within that I put on art YouTubers to watch draw while I draw, and I kind of just indulge in content. It's kind of my designated time of the day where I consume YouTube, because I do have a job and I do have my education, and so I really feel like when I'm in these situations where I'm like well, I can watch YouTube or I can be productive and do my work. I just feel like I can't watch YouTube when I have more I could be doing in theory. So, but I also make a point to, if I want to draw and I don't have a scheduled meeting at that time, I do draw. I always make sure that my art, so long as I'm meeting deadlines, takes priority and precedence over the feeling that I'm being productive, because art is something that is so important to me and just crucial in my life, and feeling whole as a person. I know that sounds weird, but it's so crucial to that process, that experience, and those feelings, that I always have it be the priority for me. If I don't have something I need to be doing at that second and I can get my work done later, I'm going to draw if I'm feeling it. And sometimes if I'm feeling frustrated or overwhelmed with my work, I open Pinterest or Google something and I just draw. Even if I don't want to draw, I draw, because losing myself in the paper is always going to be more productive than feeling unhappy and unsatisfied with what I'm doing, right? Or it's always going to be better than those feelings of frustration that I get, right? Being in the science as well, there are just times where I don't feel like I'm mentally making the connections I need to make for the work I'm doing. And so it's a big thing for me. I know I didn't really actually talk about art a lot in this video. Well, I did, but I didn't talk about the actual drawing. So I did a self-portrait on the page before this, and I did the blue lines, and I kind of liked it, so I did them again. They're kind of shaky. I kind of wanted them to be shaky. I wanted it to give a wallpaper feeling, and I made sure to give you guys a close-up before I brought ink into it, because I'm of the philosophy of you document it how you like it, and then I can ruin it. I wasn't confident I was gonna love the ink. I took a moment with it, I appreciated it, I showed you guys it, and now I can ink it. I can put ink around it, I can play with it more, I can explore it as a product, as a drawing, and I can kind of just do what I want now. I can experiment. This is the point where I'm allowed to ruin it. So there's that. I do get attached to my drawings a lot of the time. I have a lot of drawings where I'm I love this and I never want to ever touch it again. And if I'm given the opportunity to, if I can, I will preserve it in some form at some point of completion, and then I will do what I need to do, right? So I did that with my drawing of Eris for Drawtober. I did the line work and I loved it so much, and I was so scared of coloring it and ruining that I just colored it digitally. And so I get to keep the line art and I get to have it and I get to feel like it's safe from being ruined by color. And I might actually just trace my own work for that one with my light box so that I can color it if I ever get the desire, and I can still preserve the line art. You know what I mean? I'm fine with that. I'm fine just redoing the line art to keep my line art safe. Digitally, I'll make a copy. I'll just copy and paste my own line art into a different folder. Sometimes I do that so I can make coloring sheets. I don't know how I feel about that straight line. I kind of hate it. I'm not going to worry about it though. So yeah, I do preserve my work in some fashion. I post pictures, post it to my story, and I'm comfortable admitting, hey, I wanted to do this thing and I hate how it turned out. I don't like that line. I think that the black border was really helpful. I do think that I like it overall. Probably should have just finished the character's back. I just didn't really want to think about it. I didn't really think about her positioning as a character. And I might go back and do it another time and white out that black line and continue the highlighter and just make her a little bit slender, a little bit uncomfortably thin. I don't think there's a lot of space for her back there. Yeah, there isn't. I might play with it one day. Maybe I won't. But ultimately, I really appreciate likes. Dislike if you dislike, subscribe, comment, share as you please. I always love to know what you guys are thinking about my work. If you hate it, if you love it, let me know. It's okay to hate my work. It's okay to have favorites. So if you want to roast me, roast me. But I guess ultimately I really appreciate you sitting all the way through this video and listening to my tangent about art and education. So have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are, and I hope you stick around to see my next video, because it's going to be a very emotional one for me. So, bye-bye!